Alright, welcome back, ladies and gentle jammers, to the Chupacabra's lair. I'm your host, Larry, the most delectable Chupacabra man, and we're back here today to take a look at some more Ludum Dare number 38 games. The voting period has ended now. It ended on Friday, and Mike has put together the list of all of the finalists for you to take a look at. You can just grab it up on the website. There's a sticky post with a link to the direct page where you need to go to see everything. And today we're going to take a look at the two first place finalists, one in the Jam category and one in the Compo category, and see what they did to win this competition. Now, as a reminder, Ludum Dare was, this particular one, number 38, was all about a small world. A world that exists in a microcosm. And the first game we're going to take a look at today is actually the first place in the Jam category, called Honey Home, and this is a game by DVD Fu, Hamdan, and Seikun. I think it's Seikun. It's pronounced with an EI. I think that's A, but I think that's Japanese. I'm not super good with that, but Seikun, Hamdan, and DVD Fu. And this is a game all about helping an adorable little bee survive in their small world of flowers and dandelions and all sorts of large creatures that want to eat them, and try to successfully get back to their hive before they all die and drown during a nasty thunderstorm. And one of the things I like about this game right off the bat was the fact that they offered you a pretty clean playing set of two different controls to control your little honeybee, either with the WASD keys or the mouse cursor. And that's something I actually like, because a lot of games are kind of hard to control to begin with, because, like, they use a weird set that you're not used to using, like arrow keys and, like, Z and X, which is more of a retro key layout, or only offering you arrow keys when you'd really want to use WASD or a mouse. So some options are always nice. And then, of course, our goal in this game is to reach the hive safely, and to do that, we can spawn additional bees by touching the flower stamens. And then every time we touch one of these flower stamens, we get a set of spare bees in the event of shenanigans. So they're almost like additional lives or a health bar for when we start running into things like the water droplets that will mash us to the ground and murder our adorable little bee faces. Now, that isn't to say that all is lost here. We can sneak underneath of these flower petals to avoid the bigger raindrops, and then we just have to avoid things that are much larger than we are, namely things like marauding flies, toads, and just bigger and badder water droplets. I'm not honestly sure what it is exactly about flies that are gonna try and kill us, though. Like, normally when you're talking about bees, like, flies are the least of your worries in this world. Flies, I don't know that flies really bother with other insects in general unless they're already dead. Maybe certain flies do. But on the whole, like, I think this is a good package. It controls really well. It's got a grim sort of mood, and the thing that this game did the least, like, it scored really well in everything except for mood? Or was it humor? Let me just double check real quick. Oh yeah, it scored really well in everything except for humor and innovation. Which, you know, this controls pretty decently. I mean, really what you've got going on here is you're just trying to platform your way through all of these little flower stamens and dandelion heads and everything, and trying not to explode. And it didn't really win any marks on humor because this is a darker, kind of broodier, sadder game about bees just desperate to survive, trying not to get drowned by everything in nature. Which is a reasonable concern, I feel. I mean, I wouldn't want to be drowned either. And these flippin' toads always come out at night during the rainstorms, trying to eat us. That just seems rude, sir. Nope. Maybe if I stick around the top of the screen, I can make it. Oh, I bet I can game— nope. I could almost game the system by doing that, though. But, no, I like this. Like, it did well except for those two categories, and I think it was definitely warranted. There's nice music that fits the scenario. All the sounds sound correct for kind of like a cartoony bee world where you're desperately trying to survive. And all of the graphics are nice and pixely, There's nothing that looks like it's out of place. Like, a lot of times you play a game with really nice pixelated front graphics, but then there's like an elegantly drawn, vectorized background that doesn't seem to go with the rest of the graphics. So those are the kind of things that always made me wonder a little bit. But this is a good combination. It really sets the stage, and it kind of makes me feel like I'm playing a game that's like one of those storybook games where you've got to help, like, Barrington Bear go to the lemon patch to save his friends from all the toast monsters. I definitely like it. I can see why it scored very well. It also plays really well. I mean, there's something really fun and charming about just trying to help a couple of bees, little lost bees, find their way home. It's like that song, Bringing Home a Baby, Bumblebee, my oh my, won't my mama be proud of me, or some such. And that kind of has all those mantras of like a childhood story. Now, I'm gonna try real quick to get to the end of this game and see what the hive is all about, but on the whole, this kind of feels like an Endless Runner style game where you have a randomly generated or procedurally generated environment that changes every time you play through the game and would possibly offer you a variety of different obstacles based upon the different environments you could find yourself in, or based upon the different weather, because this could be like bees in like a spring snowstorm, or bees trying not to get smooshed when one of them gets caught underneath of a car when some kid's parents were going to the store. So this could very easily be expanded to just include some more environments, more places where bees would hang out, and maybe even some more types of bees, because there's all sorts of species of bees out there in the world that you could run into. Like bees that sting, bees that, like, they're those ones that don't sting, but they like people who sweat a lot and they could get distracted by different animals in the environment. Those really nice shiny green bees I always see around my house in the summertime. Those would be interesting. Or maybe you have like a big clunky bunch of bees that you don't get a full bee every time you touch a flower and there's less flowers around, but they're harder to nail. Like, they've got a couple bars of health to them, and that could help you get to your hive a little better. I mean, there's lots of options here. You just kind of have to mix and match different environmental factors. I also like the fact that you've got these little bee facts, because bees are also kind of a politically savvy game to make right now. Like, we have an issue with bees dying off. I, for one, used to be a beekeeper, and it's really expensive right now to try and get bees to continue that hobby because they've been dying out all over the country due to things like overuse of certain pesticides, new pesticides, and a combination of other illnesses that have kind of hit them all at once and are really nailing them. So this is like a really politically savvy game to play in a way. I know the goal isn't to be political, but it's always something to keep in mind when you're making a game, is like, what does this say about the politics of the time when you made it and why you might have made it? And maybe someone on the team just really likes bees. There's a lot of sort of subtle hints as to what the creators were thinking about when they worked on this game. And I like it. Like, it's got a charming, fun, childlike... Ooh, hello, we made it. Yes. We got back. All of our bee friends are here. Now we're going to have a sweet, delicious orgy. And honestly, I don't really have any complaints about this game. It plays well. It sounds really good. It's a little difficult at first, but then all you got to do is, like, realize it's one of those games that you just got to kind of hover at the sides of your vision and just kind of avoid obstacles without paying attention to anything particular. And it plays really well. I think this would be a great game that you could use to teach kids, like, about insects, about the insect world, or maybe just to do like a storybook, like an interactive children's storybook that takes you through the life and times and tribulations of a cute little busy bee. So very nice job, team. David Fu, Hemdan Javid, and Sekun Kembashi. Very nice job. All right, next up on our twofer here today, we have Smalltrek, the Ludum Frontier, which is a game made by Impbox, and this was the overall winner for the solo jam entry, or the Compo category. And this is a game that's basically distilling down the Star Trek experience into its most quintessential parts, which is A, to explore the galaxy where no pixel has gone before, and B, to keep aliens from shooting each other, because, you know, those crazy aliens, ever since the Klingons came through with their invisible birds of prey, everybody's gone crazy with them ray guns, and we gotta stop them. So we just jet around the galaxy, trying to stop everybody from exploding, and answering distress beacons like this one here. So this is episode 9, and whoa, that is a lot of different aliens. I'll be honest. So we got a lot of stuff to work with here. So here's our ship. This is our small ship for galactic adventures, easily moved. And I'm gonna put that over here. And basically this game is a sliding block puzzle. It's got a little bit more story than Honey Home. And if you look at the scores, it did score overall a bit better than Honey Home, and including in categories of innovation and humor. And much like Honey Home, its big downfall was, again, the humor and also the innovation of the game. Because, do you remember those, like, Freddy Fish games where you had to, like, solve a puzzle which was realigning a picture by sliding blocks around in tracks? It's a lot like that with various sized planets and missions that all revolve around that mechanic. But each one of these creatures wants to be next to something very specific, or else it won't be very happy. So what do we got here? This is the Botarni, and these are a mostly friendly plant-loving humanoid, and they get aggressive when they're not next to their favorite plant. So we gotta make sure that they're happy and next to their lovely plant over here, or else they'll go crazy and murder everybody. So these little frog dudes love it next to plants, and these little chicken nugget guys, these are the Cuddle, and they're a violently fertile and adorably cute fluffy creature that needs to reproduce to be happy. So these are actually drawn, these inspirations are drawn directly from Star Trek, it looks like, because these are like those little furry cooch balls. I can't remember their name off the top of my head, where the entire episode revolved around them reproducing so fast, even though everyone thought that they were cute, and eating different important critical systems in the ship until they had to kill them somehow and kick them off the ship into the sun. I think they probably used Captain Picard's... not Picard, that's a later one. Captain Kirk's cologne, because you think he's wooing women, but he's really just knocking them unconscious with it and taking them back to the ship. So, I mean, they gotta keep your eye on that Kirk man. He's a shifty fella. And so our last creature is the Chrysarnax. And they gather their power from the crystals and can channel it through themselves, but they hate the Cuddles, so we gotta be careful to keep them away from the Cuddles, or else they'll go crazy. So let me move this guy up here for the moment, so we can move this Cuddle out of the way. So these guys can't touch the little chicken nuggets, and we gotta keep them next to the crystals. So we're gonna have to form a fence around them in order to keep them happy. So I'm gonna move my ship over here, and we're gonna slowly move our crystal dudes where they will be the most appeased. And then we're gonna use our ship, and we're gonna use the little green dude to form a safety fence so that they're not angry. So they can share energy by touching the tips of their fingers or something like E.T. So that's not a problem. And then these Cuddles, they share energy via a smushing action that then absorbs the rest of the environment. So there we go. We've helped our first planet. I think this is actually a holdover from my save from when I was playing the game earlier today. So I'm a little bit further along. I'm on episode 10. So it starts out in a 3x3 environment. Oh, what's this say? Chrysarnax really hate the Cuddles. Not really sure why, though. How could anyone hate something so cute? So that's another thing that this game has. It has a bit of story as well to go along with everything, which I thought was kind of nice. So that's probably why it rated a little bit better overall. And even the mood did pretty well. Like, I'm not sure how I would feel about the mood, but it feels very fun and adventurous and kind of goofy in like a pixel art way. So it's a nice package. So what's this guy? This guy's new. He's a Potari, or a Partari, a mostly friendly creature. It thrives on diversity and needs the company of other species. So it looks like we have another situation where we have to lock the Cuddles away so that they don't take over the world. And how am I going to do that? Let's move these crystal guys over here first. They like the crystals, and this here is a Roton, and they're intelligent rock-dwelling humanoids, and they have to be next to rocks, or they just start freaking out like a tweaker who just ran out of meth. It's an awful sight. Look at him. He's all out of sorts. And I like how the pixel art in this game, you can actually tell the emotions of the characters just with a couple of extra pixels in a little small different configuration. Can convey body language. This is really, I really like this. This is a very strong package, but also a very small package. Again, it's the whole of Star Trek distilled down into a smaller version of itself that's almost formulaic. So let's move this bad boy. We'll leave you up here for a second. I'm gonna move you over here. It's weird. Why is this guy not happy right here? He's right next to the crystal. I guess he has to get it. Only one of them can access the crystal at a time, I guess. So let's just move this guy down. Oh, I want to do... Okay, this guy's got to be next to this. That's just how this is going to go. This guy wants to be next to everyone. So we're going to move him here for the time being. But how am I going to get the little chicken nugget to be happy? He's just so cute. I wouldn't want to disappoint the boy, the little critter. Maybe if I just relocate the chicken nugget so that he's hiding in the corner again, so I don't have to worry about him. That'll work. Let's put him over here. I can't have him next to these dudes, or else all hell will break loose. And then after that, I can move this guy. Where can I move you? Darn. Maybe if I shuffle everyone over one, that'll work just fine. Alright, so now those guys won't touch, and I'll put this guy here. There we go. Now everyone's pleased. Man, shuffling people around is very difficult. I gotta give credit to those party planners out there that have to, like, read through all the notes from, like, the bride and groom to see which relatives hate each other, so they don't place too many of them next to each other, or else they'll go absolutely nuts. But yeah, this is a nice little package. It's got a little story. It's got really nice pixel art, because one thing I've said about space is, like, space has got stuff in it. There's just stuff floating, it's doing stuff. There's no reason not to go nuts and just put lots of stuff in space. Also, these little puzzles get more and more complex as you go along because they have different creatures. There's larger little, you know, planets that you're on, even though they're all still small. And there's always something new here, like what Omnitrus eats plants, destroys ecosystems, likes their own company. Okay, so if these things are left alone, they'll eat all the plants. Well, that's no good. Well, I think I can probably get these guys to hang out with each other if I move everything. Okay, I gotta stop this and restart. To each their own, but yeah, these were some really fun game entries. I figured we'd just take a look at what these are like. Would I expand on Smalltrek? Maybe, but I feel like this game is very much ready to go and launch out onto, like, Steam or something. You just might need to make some more puzzles or different types of puzzles to go along with that little cube game, and you'd be golden. Same with Honey Home. Like, all you'd have to do is add some more levels with different types of obstacles, and you'd be good to go. Like, these are very fleshed out concepts, and both Impbox, DVD Foo, Hamdan, and Seikun did a wonderful job with their games. My hat's off to you. These were some really good winners, and, you know, they were surprisingly deep for how much gameplay that they had in them than I was necessarily expecting based upon the other games that I've played so far. So that'll be it for this episode, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be just a brief one because I just wanted to show the 2 top winners, and then I'll probably do a couple more of, like, the the second place winners, and then the third place winners. And then maybe a couple episodes for some more random picks from my list. I'm not sure yet. And we'll go from there. So until next time, I've been your host, Larry. This has been more Larry Does Ludum. I hope you've enjoyed so far. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Bye, everybody, and have a good one.